Hello survivors! Lately, I've had a lot of viewers that are new to the game asking me for tips or advice on how to play, so today I want to talk about 20 things that I wish I knew when I started playing Last Day on Earth. Number 1. Follow the survival guide. The survival guide is great for beginners to get them started in the game. It walks you through different areas, crafting specific items, and building your base. On top of that, you get rewards for doing these tasks that are helping you out in the first place, and who doesn't like free stuff? Number 2, don't build walls. Now, I know this directly conflicts with number 1, as the survival guide does encourage you to build some walls to complete tasks, so that's the exception to this piece. Walls in the game serve two purposes. They slow down the Horde from walking through your base, and it deters raiders from stealing your items. If you don't have tier 3 stone walls, the Horde will eventually tear them down, so if you aren't raiding, walls don't really serve a purpose. Number 3, collect everything. If you're new to this game, you will eventually have use for everything, so make sure you're collecting as much as you can. To start, make sure you're building the maximum number of boxes, which at the time of this video is 40. Try to organize like resources together and max out the number of boxes before you start upgrading them. Number 4, avoid basements. Basements are hardly ever worth going into. The rewards you get are completely random, and you spend a lot of resources to survive them, and most of the time the payout isn't even worth it. While you can find some rare items like dog food or treats, chances are if you're new to the game you won't be needing these items and you're better off just farming the zone. Number 5, max out on your benches. Woodworking benches, campfires, tanning racks, and melting furnaces, these are going to be so important when it comes to making higher tier materials like iron, steel, and planks. You're going to need to be utilizing all of these benches, so when you're able to craft them, make sure you craft 2 of them. The only exception currently is for the refined melting furnace and the recycler, which are capped at 1. But eventually, if you can make 2 of these, come on Kafir, you'll want to take advantage of that as well. Number 6, farm efficiently. When you're traveling to different areas to collect wood, stone, or iron, or whatever it is you're farming for, make sure you aren't taking items you don't need. For every slot you have something unnecessary in, that's one less stack you'll be able to bring back with you. Also, any zone you go to in order to farm resources will have enough pine and stone for you to craft gathering tools, so don't think you have to bring any with you. Number 7, 4th floor in Alpha is hard. Keeping in mind this is for newer players, there are a lot more difficult areas to the 4th floor in the Alpha bunker than in floors 2 and 3. When you're ready to start doing Alpha, it's perfectly okay to skip the 4th floor until you've had time to ramp up to it. For more information on Alpha Bunker, I do have 3 videos that are walkthroughs to take you through all 3 floors. Number 8, leather is key. You'll be using a lot of leather in this game between making armor and weapons. Make sure you bring a stack of raw hides back every time you go out farming and put them on your tanning rack. Number 9, go to every crashed plane and airdrop event. These events allow you to get free items. Airplane crashes are more likely to happen when you're a low level, but have much more loot and fewer zombies to deal with. Airdrops always give you a weapon, 10 of a particular resource, and some type of vehicle part. So if you're still working on that chopper, this will give you a bit of a boost. When you go to these events, make sure you have an empty backpack so you can bring back as much as possible. Number 10, use ads for free energy. When you're trying to run to a new zone but don't have enough energy, you are able to watch ads for 15 free energy. I sometimes will start walking to a zone, then watch the ad while I grab a fresh drink or use the restroom, then come back to run the rest of the way. Having walked a couple minutes, it's now less energy, and I don't have to watch that ad. Number 11, don't start raiding until you have tier 3 walls. And even at that, multiple layers of walls. The last thing you want is for a raider to use 1 C4 and have full access to your base. When I started raiding, I had honeycombed the center of my base, having 1 chest between 4 walls. While this prevented a lot of my stuff from being stolen by the raiders, it was also very annoying to maneuver around in my base. Eventually, you'll be able to surround your base and multiple layers of tier 3 walls to prevent hordes from breaking down your lower level walls and protect you from raiders at the same time. Number 12, you can store items in the lobbies of Alpha and Bravo bunkers. While this holds true 99% of the time, the one thing to keep in mind is that if a zone is getting reworked like what we saw with the Alpha bunker recently, it will reset. So make sure you stay up to date with what's changing in the game so you don't lose out on those items that you work so hard to collect. Number 13. Don't build half of a weapon mod. Unless your boxes are absolutely overflowing with a certain item for weapon mods, you shouldn't start building a mod if you can't finish it. What could happen, and has happened to me, is that you start building a mod and get halfway through it only to come across a better mod for the same part of the weapon. Now you have no reason to finish the first mod because it won't be as good as the new one that you just got, thus wasting those resources you just invested. The one exception to this rule would be if you get the best weapon mod for a part of a weapon like the tactical butcher knife or hunter handle for the cleaver. Number 14. Don't fight the Horde. You get very little XP for this, and you shouldn't need to fend them off anyways if you haven't built walls in the first place. There's really no point, and all you're gonna do is waste your weapon durability. Number 15. Do the motel as much as possible. This is a very easy instance with a fast reset. There's a lot of good items for new players starting out, and you can invest very little to complete this area. Number 16. Start using the recycler as early as you can. The recycler can give you great things after you level up the different categories, and there are tons of guides giving you advice on how to best level up the different categories. For example, to start, use low durability weapons and armor and empty cans. Always remember to throw a stack of something on before you log out for the day so you can keep leveling it up as much as possible, even when you're not in the game. Number 17. You aren't raiding actual player bases. And likewise, when you get raided, you aren't being raided by actual players. Raids are copies of player bases, so you aren't actually impacting another player when you do a raid. Also, when you get raided, you're being raided by an NPC. The items they take wind up in a random copy of a player's base if you're lucky enough to get a revenge raid. Number 18. Use campfires to make charcoal only. If you're starting out, you might not have a lot of food, so you may be tempted to use campfires to make carrot stew or steaks. Don't. Make charcoal so you can smelt your ore into bars. Charcoal is the most efficient fuel for furnaces until you unlock the ATV. Number 19. Carrots and canned food are enough. Don't use fuel to cook carrots into stew or raw meat into steaks. It's not worth it. Carrots alone are perfectly fine, and you'll have plenty of them as long as you're saving up seeds from collecting plant fibers. Make sure you have 2 garden beds going and rotate the carrots out as often as you can. And finally, number 20, feed your dogs. Some dogs will give you buffs, like Bloodhound helps you find rare items, or Hunter helps you find rare monsters. These buffs are only active when your dogs are fed, and especially if you have puppies, the only way they're gonna grow up is if you're feeding them. Use raw meat and turkeys to keep the food timer up as much as possible, especially when you're out farming zones and wanna find some extra items. So what do you think of this list? Is there anything that you wish you knew before you started playing that was missed? Drop a comment and let us know what it is. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.